Elections in Taiwan are relatively clean with a relatively low amount of foul play. Of course, there is room for improvement, but all things considered, Taiwan is doing well in that regard. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Nathan, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about Taiwan's democracy, and I'm going to be talking about just how democratic Taiwan is compared to other countries here in the region. Let's face it, 2020 was a brutal year for democracy around the world. But why? Well, there are many reasons, but it mainly boils down to the fact that many countries were forced to infringe on civil liberties to curb the spread of the virus. Other countries even took advantage of the pandemic by using the virus as an excuse to abuse their power and the rights of their citizens. This, amongst other things, unfortunately caused a global decline in democracy. Let's shift our focus to Taiwan and take a brief look at the history of Taiwan. Exactly how and when did Taiwan become a democratic country? Taiwan's recent history over the past several decades has been a complicated one, but many feel that the key moment for Taiwan's democracy was in 1996, when Li Denghui became the first directly elected president of Taiwan. Fast forward approximately 25 years later, and Taiwan is a flourishing and vibrant democracy in the region. In fact, Taiwan is the only country in the world with a predominantly ethnically Chinese population that is also simultaneously a democracy. And Taiwan is proof that a predominantly ethnically Chinese society can not only function as a democracy, but flourish. At the time of filming this video, Taiwan ranked as the most democratic country in East Asia and the 11th most democratic country in the world. Japan came in at 21st and South Korea came in at 23rd, and were the only other two countries in the region to be classified as full democracies. Any guesses as to how China was ranked in this democracy survey? Leave your guesses down below. According to the Economist Intelligence Unit, Taiwan's democracy ranking has been promoted from a flawed democracy to a full democracy. This is actually quite astounding, especially if you consider the fact that only about 8.4% of the world's population currently live in a full democracy. When I was doing research for this video and came across this statistic, I was reminded how lucky I am to be currently living in Taiwan. It was a stark reminder for me that although life is full of challenges and difficulties, we should also remember to focus on what we have and be thankful for the good things in our lives, such as family, friends, health, freedom, and democracy. It's easy to sort of forget about this and take things for granted when you're living in a democratic and free country. So, why is Taiwan, which is a relatively young democracy, ranked so high on the democracy index? Taiwan has quite a few things going for it, which I think have helped to boost its ranking from a flawed democracy to a full democracy, and helped it to become one of the most democratic countries in the region and the 11th most democratic country in the world. Taiwan has transparency in political party financing. Most of Taiwanese society is on the same page in regards to certain key political issues, as well as core values. I say most because there are certainly opposing opinions and voices on many topics in Taiwan, but that's nothing new and can be expected in most democratic countries. This unanimity on certain issues brings about social cohesion, which is a key factor when assessing how democratic a country is. Elections in Taiwan are relatively clean with a relatively low amount of foul play. Of course, there is room for improvement, but all things considered, Taiwan is doing well in that regard. And yes, of course corruption exists in Taiwan, as it does all around the world. There is no doubt about that, especially when it comes to politics. Corruption in politics in many countries around the world is almost just to be expected. It's like one of those things that, like, when someone mentions politics, you know there's going to be an element of corruption somewhere in there. I don't mean that just because corruption is ubiquitous around the world that we should accept it. I just mean that it is quite a common thing to encounter, especially in politics. Another important point I'd like to bring up is that, of course, Taiwan is definitely not perfect, and certainly not 100% democratic in all aspects of life and society. There are definitely pockets or areas of society in which Taiwan is not fully democratic. The work environment is one pocket that comes to mind, especially for locals working in some local companies. Some of the local businesses in Taiwan have an outdated work system or mentality, which creates a work environment that does not really allow for worker empowerment or creativity. On the other hand, there are some other companies which are much more open-minded and do encourage workers to speak out. I guess it all boils down to which company it is that you're working for. The people of Taiwan also have the right to choose their own leaders or representatives via elections. All Taiwanese have basic human rights, and these rights are protected by law. Taiwan also has the rule of law, and these laws in theory apply equally to all citizens, irrelevant of status or wealth. To sum it all up, I think Taiwan is doing exceptionally well in regards to its democracy. Taiwan is proof that democracy works, even when Taiwanese have to endure a constant bombardment of attempts to undermine and corrupt their freedom and democracy. Okay everybody, I think that pretty much sums up this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers!